Undroppables Playbook, a football podcast. With your hosts, Ashley and Mike. Please sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Undroppables Playbook, a football podcast presented by the Undroppables and sponsored by Analyst Depot. I'm your host, Ashley. This is our other host, Michael Duncan, and it is Super Bowl week. Oh, feels nice to say that, but at the same time, like, I don't want it to be Super Bowl week because then we don't have football forever.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I wish I could enjoy it a little bit more. I've spent most of the day refreshing Twitter, waiting for Ben Simmons to be traded out of Philadelphia.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
That's a different sport, basketball. So I'm kind of just waiting to get over that hump so I can start really looking forward to the Super Bowl. But I don't know. This one, both, like, I'm more excited and less excited in certain ways. Like, I don't find myself overly cheering for one team or the other. I'm just kind of rooting for a good game, which is something I haven't had in a while. I feel like at the very least there's normally been a team that I'm cheering against if there's not a team that I'm actively cheering for. And this team, it's like, with the exception of Sean McVay, which I won't go through again this week, there's not really anyone that I don't want to win this game. So I'm just kind of rooting for good football, which we've been blessed with throughout this playoff run.
Yeah, and it's the same for me. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but at the beginning, when the Giants aren't in the Super Bowl, or most times, or when it aren't in the playoffs, most times, I will pick, yeah, exactly, most times. But I will pick a team from each division that I like and cheer for them specifically. And this year I picked the Rams and the Bengals, so I'm kind of torn. We'll talk about, who I kind of want to win later, but I feel the same way, that it's like, I don't hate either of the teams. I love both of those teams. So I think it's more so just rooting for good football, which has been this season in a nutshell. And if this season,
not the whole season,
not the whole season,
we'll take the postseason.
The postseason. But if this season and this postseason in particular is any indication of how the Super Bowl is going to go, then it should be interesting. Or we could end up like that Rams Super Bowl, that it was like literally falling asleep.
That was the most miserable night of my life.
Oh my God, right? Like, I didn't want to watch it. Like, the halftime show was the most interesting part of the entire thing.
And that's the same season that the Rams gave us one of the best games of all time on Monday Night Football against the Chiefs. That's the most ridiculous part.
Yeah,
we could have had Chiefs Rams. That's all I'm saying. Stupid overtime rules.
Yes,
3 weeks in a row now.
I know.
That was mentioned.
But yeah, so a little overview of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some of the fun bets that we like. The Super Bowl is always filled with a lot of fun prop bets, not player specific, but more so not even football specific, more so just general things. We're going to talk a little bit about how these two teams ended up here, what each team needs to do to win. But before we get into that, we will wrap up our recurring segment about who was hired since we last shut down our last podcast. And to start us off, why don't you tell us, because you've been talking about him so often.
Yeah, so the new head coach of the Jaguars is the first guy they interviewed for the job. Former Eagles head coach Doug Peterson obviously won a ring in Philly in 2017, was fired after a 4-win season in 2020, spent a year off, and is now the head coach of the Jaguars. A lot of reports saying that multiple people kind of pulled themselves out of consideration for that job because of having to deal with Trent Baalke. So I don't know how Doug feels about that. Maybe he just feels more ready to deal with something like that, having dealt with what he dealt with in Philadelphia with the front office and their meddling or whatnot. But I'm excited for Trevor Lawrence. I think it's going to be great for his growth, and I'm excited for the personality that he's going to be bringing to the locker room, because he's very much the opposite of Urban Meyer. Yeah. In his 5 years in Philly, no matter how bad things looked during any stretch of the season, his teams always played hard for him. I remember specifically in 2018, the playoff loss to the Saints, where Alshon dropped a pretty easy catch over the middle. There was a really touching, moment between the two of them after the game. And, he's a former player. He's a former head coach. He has experience. And I think that, I think he's going to be very good for the Jaguars organization.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I know there's pros and cons to hiring ex-players, and I think that's one of my biggest pros of hiring ex-players is that they kind of know what the players need, right? Just not even from a game point, kind of just from a leader perspective and
Yeah.
from what they need in the locker room. But that leads us into our next head coaching hire, which is the Houston Texans, and they hired their former associate head coach, Lovie Smith, and he was the first. Well, who was hired first? Him
I
or
believe it was
him?
Lovey.
I think Lovie was hired first, which
Hmm.
would make him the next one too. But Lovie Smith was the first Black head coach hired in this cycle. I saw a tweet today that was like the Texans' process is broken, but they ended up at the right answer. Their process is very broken, but they ended up at the right answer. Lovie was a great option, and I'm looking forward to seeing that beard every weekend
Oh,
because that beard is
I
killer,
feel like I haven't seen him in like 5 years. So
right?
when he showed up on my, like, I was expecting one thing, and then all of a sudden I saw him and he had that beard. I was like,
Gorgeous
holy
beard,
shoot,
gorgeous
like, what
beard.
is going on? God.
But I think Levy is a great hire for the Texans. I'm a little bit worried that it's going to be like their last hire, like a temporary placeholder until they kind of figure out what the hell is going on with the organization. I hope not. I hope the best for Levy. I'm just a little bit worried about that situation.
They have no clue what's going on.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Um,
I don't see why. I never mind. It's not worth it.
and no, not. And then the final head coaching hire was for the Dolphins, who hired offensive coordinator Mike McDaniel from the San Francisco 49ers. Mike McDaniel is biracial, so I'm pretty sure they will get the compensatory picks for hiring Michael McDaniel. But yeah, I think that's another one that I think that might be one of my favorite head coaching hires is McDaniel to the Dolphins.
Yeah, he's
I think they just need a
interesting.
good running back.
I mean, or they don't. I mean, I don't think a lot of people would necessarily say that the Niners have had the, biggest talents at running back in the past couple seasons. They
That's
just,
true.
the thing that Kyle Shanahan is really good, and his dad was really good at it, and they always
Mhm.
have been, is just scheming around those running backs and scheming around the run game to get them in open space. So, I mean,
Very
if you
true.
can get a guy that has the proper skill set for that offense, I think they might be set. I mean, they've made it clear that they don't have to spend, they have spent a 3rd-round pick or whatever on a running back, and that was Trey Sermon, and that he did nothing. I mean, 6th-round pick, Elijah Mitchell was the lead back. So, you're just looking for a specific skill set, I think, more than, necessarily a complete back. So it'll be interesting to see, I guess, how they approach the draft and how their offense looks next year.
Yeah, so that wraps up this head coaching cycle. All of our head coaches are hired. A lot of offensive, defensive coordinator positions and quarterback coaches and linebacker, whatever. A lot of those are still in the process. Teams that hired their head coach earlier are a little bit further along in that process. But that wraps up our head coaching hires of this cycle, and I think we're going to talk a little bit more about them not today, more in the postseason about all the entire process of
Off-season.
the head coaching hire. Oh, sorry, in the off season. But for now, we have an hour to talk about the big game. We are talking about the Super Bowl. On a brief little overview, the Rams are 4-point favorites at -112, and the Bengals are 4-point underdogs at -108, and the over-under is set at 48.5, which is a pretty high over-under, even for a Super Bowl. But
Yeah,
I mean, it's
I'm
not
not
that
overly
high.
shocked, but
Not crazy.
I mean, I feel like other than that one game, I
Yeah.
think most of the previous would hit the over. Actually, I guess Tampa Bay and Kansas City wouldn't have last year. It was 31-9. So
Yeah.
most would have hit that. Maybe not. Maybe I'm looking at the scores right now. Maybe I'm just completely off. I think it's probably right around where most of
Yeah,
them
I think
went.
that's like probably average.
There you go.
Um,
Vegas knows what they're doing.
yeah. The Super Bowl this year is in SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Even though the Rams, that's their home stadium, we hadn't had that ever. And then it's 2 years back to back
Twice in
with the
a row.
Buccaneers last year, and now the Rams in their home stadium. But this year, the Rams are the away team because every year it switches on and off between AFC and NFC. And this year, the NFC is the away team. So the Rams are away. And really interesting is that the weather for this Super Bowl, there is a wintertime heat advisory for the first time in 16 years in Los Angeles. And it could be record high temperature. And you have to remember that the Super Bowl kicks off at 3:30 local time. They're expecting somewhere around 85 to 90. The record right now is 90, but this temperature is 15 to 20 degrees higher than normal, and the real field temp will be higher 90s. And the record for a Super Bowl right now is 84 degrees for the Super Bowl, the 1973 Super Bowl that was played in Los Angeles between the Dolphins and Washington, where the Dolphins won.
Interesting.
Right?
Weather.
Back in Los Angeles, weather. That was your weather report. Why don't you tell us about our fashion report a little bit?
Yeah, so this is really interesting, and I have a couple friends from college that are mildly obsessed with football uniforms, and I remember my one friend in particular, my buddy Hayden.
Shout out Hayden.
Yeah, shout out Hayden. So something really interesting that he can do is he can go back and name, if you name a Super Bowl, he can name, I think, the who played in it, the score, who won, and the MVP, and typically I believe the uniform color, or like who was the home, who was the away. So when we were leading up to the Eagles Super Bowl in 2017, the one thing that had him, because we're very superstitious, one thing that had him not feeling good was the fact that the Eagles were going to be wearing their home green jerseys. The reason for that was because since 2005, at that time, only one team had won in the home colored jerseys, being the Packers in 2011. Since 2005 now, the Eagles won in 2017 and the Chiefs also won in 2019. But that means since 2005, only 3 teams have won wearing their home colored jerseys, which is just ridiculous. It's really, it can't have anything to do with anything, but it's so stupid. And it honestly, like, it goes to show that like Bill Belichick was paying attention to that, because in 2017, I want to say that the Patriots were the home team and they chose to wear their white jerseys.
Yes.
Like, that is something that he was clearly aware of. It's very odd. It's funny, honestly. But
it really is.
Yeah, so, and this year we have the Rams wearing their white jerseys, and
with
the
yellow
Bengals
pants.
What was that?
They're wearing yellow pants.
Yeah, I have not done any research on pants, so I can't speak to that. But what was I saying? Oh God.
And what are the Bengals wearing?
And the Bengals are wearing black. So actually, neither team is wearing their home colored jerseys, which is a different kind of interesting. And didn't do any research into alternate jersey colors. So that's fun. Again, kind of useless, but really interesting stuff. And it's just funny the way that, history's kind of worked out like that.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of fun little things like that about the Super Bowl, right? That it's like, and it's those same type of stats. I think we talked about it earlier in the season. That's like, Tom Brady when the wind is at 8 degrees northwest, like that type of stuff. Like those little fun facts like that, I think are my favorite.
Oh yeah. There's stupid reasons to feel really good or really bad at things. And that was like, I'm not even kidding. Like, leading up to the Super Bowl in 2017, like, we looked for every single one of those. Like, Bill Belichick and Nick Saban had never won a championship in the same year. The color of the uniforms, the like how many siblings does the quarterback have? Like crap like that. Like we had like a list of like 50 of them and tried to figure out, which did it favor the Eagles? Did it favor the Patriots? But
yeah.
Really,
I know. I think that's one of my favorite things about the Super Bowl. But why don't we jump into a little bit of the meat and potatoes of it all? Why don't you tell us? Why don't we start with the Bengals? Because underdogs. But let's hear how the Bengals got here. Why don't you tell us a little bit?
Yeah. So it's interesting. The Bengals. I mean, I think it's kind of safe to say that they came out of nowhere. Like, I think they were a sleeper pick this year for a lot of people. I mean, like, I think I want to say I predicted them to make the playoffs, but it was more of like a 6-7 seed. When they did well at the beginning of the season, it was exciting, but I don't think anyone necessarily, even when they were the 1 seed early in the season, I don't think anyone really expected this out of them.
No.
But 2 years ago, they had the first overall pick in the draft. They drafted a guy out of LSU who the year prior was not anywhere close to a household name, but ended up breaking a lot of records. That's Joe Burrow. And then in his first year as a starter, he tore his ACL. So this year he's coming back, trying to get healthy again and trying to get reacquainted to playing football in the NFL. He came back a little bit slow. He had a solid start to the season for sure, but they definitely lean on the running game heavier in the earlier season. Joe Mixon was a beast early in the season. And then he came back and finished the season really, really strong. Threw for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns, beat the Chiefs, in the playoffs, but also at the end of the season. They got red hot, and then going into the playoffs, they just kind of never really stopped. I mean, they were the favorite over the Raiders, but they've been an underdog since. And I mean, rightfully so. They were the 4th seed. They were playing on the road, and that franchise had literally never had a road playoff game win.
Yeah.
So defense has been outstanding. The coaching on that side of the ball has been awesome. And the rookie, Mcpherson, Evan Mcpherson, I believe, the kicker for the
Stellar.
Bengals has just been ridiculous. He's got
Insane.
ice in his veins in a way that we haven't seen with a kicker probably since the heydays of Vinatieri. So
Yeah. Yeah, and they drafted Jamar Chase. I think that's another big one. Another,
they drafted really
him.
well.
They
I
have.
mean, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and a lot of guys on the defensive side of the ball, like I had a Sam Hubbard. I have a list, and it's not loading, but yeah, a lot of they've drafted really well, and they've developed really well on that side of the ball as well. I think Bates is another guy, starting safety. Jesse Bates. They've just drafted really well, and a lot of those guys have worked out both in the early and kind of the middle rounds, and that's how they've built their team. I mean, they haven't. I know I'm going to regret saying this. They've done some free agency stuff, but they haven't really done anything crazy in the past couple of years. They're a very, very, very young and very homegrown.
I was just going to say that. Yep, exactly. And then they built around. Once they drafted Burrow, they started building around Burrow. I mean, one of the reasons they drafted Jamar Chase, they've come out and said, is that Joe Burrow had been hurt and he needed something to get him going again, and something that felt comfortable and eased you back in. I've talked on this podcast about, coming back from injury and how that is a mental game as much as it is a physical game. And they decided, Jamar Chase worked out for them. They drafted him in part because they had high hopes for him, and they drafted him in part because he was going to be really good for Joe Burrow. So I think that's another huge, huge pickup for them.
I agree. Yeah, it's been incredible to watch this season too. And funnily enough, someone in our comments mentioned that Jake Elliott had ice in his veins his rookie year, that being the Eagles' 2017 Super Bowl run. And ironically, he was actually drafted by the Bengals in the 5th round.
Oh.
Yeah, he was a 5th round pick for the Bengals back in 2017. He made their practice squad and got cut after like week 2, when the Eagles then picked him up to fill in at kicker because ours had gotten a season-ending injury. And then he went on to, I think it was like the following week, kicked a 60. I think the week he started was against the Chiefs, and he hit an onside kick, completed an onside kick, and then the following week hit a 61-yarder to win the game against the Giants. So Bengals drafted great. They just didn't hang on, but it didn't really matter in the end.
All right, well, we can move on. We could talk a little bit about how the Rams got here. So I think the biggest one is that they made a trade. Jared Goff left town. They got Matt Stafford. They got rid of Jared Goff, got Matt Stafford, and that has been a huge, huge come up for them. They did most of their work through trades, not through drafting. And the Rams are not very well known for having high draft picks or doing very, very well. They don't have any. But yeah, so, and they aren't, like, they're mediocre at drafting. I don't think you could give the Bengals an A+ recently, and I don't think you can give them, I don't think they're failing, but I don't think they're passing. Well, that doesn't make any sense. I don't think they're failing, but I don't think they're at the top of the class.
Yeah, they haven't really had I think something you'd view as a super successful draft class since probably 2017, where they got Cooper Kupp. Gerald Everett was pretty decent. Josh Reynolds was, not bad in his time there, but even then, nothing crazy.
Yeah. So the Rams focused a lot on trades and free agency, but some notable trades: they traded for Sony Michel, they traded for Jalen Ramsey at the trade deadline, they traded for Von Miller, and then another big one, Cam Akers got hurt in preseason or like over the summer, and then made a insane comeback at the end of the year. So they have a little bit more depth at the running back position than they did throughout most of the year. Robert Woods they traded for OBJ. Well, not traded, but OBJ was released.
He forced his way out, and then
came in with the Rams. And then Robert Woods got hurt. and they replaced him with OBJ, but that kind of let Cooper Kupp is already on fire, but let Cooper Kupp step into an even bigger role. And Cooper Kupp has had an insane year. Matt Stafford has overcome his not being able to win in the playoffs thing and is now on a roll. And it seems like both of these teams are kind of hitting the peaks at the right time. I think Bengals more so than the Rams, but
Yeah,
the
I don't know if I would
Rams,
necessarily agree with that with the Rams. I
I
mean,
think the Bengals, but I think the
yeah,
Rams are not like at a low, like they're not like
yeah.
bottoming out. They're kind of
No, I mean, they wouldn't be in
plateauing.
the
But
Super Bowl if they were bottoming out. But
yeah,
I
I
mean, I
know.
think
But
you and I have both been critical just in terms of lately of like, yeah, the Rams have been winning, but it doesn't feel the same as it did during certain parts of the season where they were
yes.
just unstoppable.
Yeah. So I think the Rams have kind of hit a plateau while it feels like the Bengals are still on the rise. So I think that's kind of a better way to say it. You know, they're both
Yeah.
still at very high top of their game type of thing.
And specifically through the last into how they got to the Super Bowl in the last 5 postseasons, in terms of pass rush win rate in the last 5 postseasons, both Aaron Donald and Von Miller are posting 2 of the top 5 pass rush win rates in the last. That is really hard to say in the last 5
Yeah.
postseasons. Von Miller being the best win rate in the last 5 years, and I think Aaron Donald coming in 5th. Currently in 2021. So
that's interesting.
That's a large part of the reason that they're at where they're at. Von Miller didn't have a great end of the season, but he's been outstanding in these playoffs so far.
Yes, 100%. So why don't we jump into it with, do you want to talk about the Bengals or the Rams and what they need to do to win?
I'll start with the Bengals, I guess.
Okay.
And I think what it really comes down to is kind of what I just said. And maybe that's only even half true because it's not like their offensive line has been particularly great throughout this postseason to begin with. But I think they just need to hope and pray that they can find a way to keep Joe Burrow on his feet. But, you know, it's not going to be easy because they don't have the talent there. The Rams do have the talent. And I think what it really comes down to is Zach Taylor needs to get a little more creative with his play calling. He was extremely predictable in that Chiefs game, which we talked about last week, to a ridiculous amount, the way that they were running every first down, and it wasn't working. He needs to be able to adapt the way that we've seen the defense in particular adapt. I think in a weird way, I actually have more faith in the Bengals defense at this moment in terms of coaching than I do in the offense. I think the offense has gotten saved by the incredible talent they have with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, and Joe Burrow. But Zach Taylor has not been impressive at all as a play caller. And I think the Rams have a lot more talent on defense than the Chiefs do and a very good coaching staff. And if they're not careful, then the game might be over very quickly and very, very early if Zach Taylor's not willing to make adjustments. I don't think that he's going. I don't think he can count on what happened against the Chiefs, which is holding the Chiefs to 3 points in the second half or something crazy like that. So I think first and foremost, they just need to be a little more creative on offense. And they need to be able, I think Zach Taylor needs to have the coaching performance of his lifetime, really, is what it comes down to for them.
Yep, I completely agree. And I think something I saw from Eric Eager, who works at PFF, said, including the playoffs, Joe Mixon leads all NFL running backs in rushing yards on not perfectly blocked runs. So I think that's something. It's an interesting stat. I don't know how they measure that, but I think too is that Joe Mixon is a big part of it. I don't, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins have all been really successful at passing, and their passing game has been great. But I don't think this is a game where they can insanely heavily rely on their passing, especially because the offensive line has not been at its peak lately.
And there's a guy named Jalen Ramsey lining up against Jamar Chase.
Exactly. So I think too that offensive line is probably their biggest weakness at this point. So I think using someone like Joe Mixon to run RPOs and to not have the Rams know what's coming, because if you just steadily rely on the passing game, I don't think that's the best game plan for success. And I think that stat is good, showing that, Joe Mixon, it doesn't have to be a perfect play for Joe Mixon to gain yards or just get moving a little bit. I think just using that run game as a crutch almost to kind of help get the passing game going, because they won't know what's coming, if that makes sense. It's
And
like
it doesn't
basic
need to be
football,
on
but
first down is something I want to make
exactly.
very clear to Zach Taylor. You do not have to
Yes.
run the ball on first down. That is not a requirement.
Wait, what? I thought that was in the rules.
No. Nope. This isn't Madden with your little brother, and you're trying to go just be creative, man. Just be a little bit confusing. Don't make someone think about beating you. That's all I ask. Just make them think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing on defense. Their defense has been well coached for most of the year. They have some talent, but you can't. If your game plan is to win the game by holding the Rams to not a lot of points, I think you're probably going to lose.
I completely agree,
They're
especially with Cooper Kupp and
Stafford.
Stafford.
They're a great offense. They're a well coached offense. So yeah, I mean, you're going to need the defense to play well, but I think you're just you need to expect to have to keep up or get ahead with your offense.
Yeah. Now, if you're the Bengals, what are you doing about Von Miller and Aaron Donald?
I mean,
is there anything you obviously keep them away, but is there anything specifically? Do you think it's more so relying on one aspect of the game? Do you think it's?
I mean, I think you want to get the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands quick. I think you want to. You don't want to end up in second and third and long situations. That was the biggest issue with Joe. Not the biggest issue, but one of the reasons that he's been getting sacked is because they run the ball, which is extremely predictive on first down. Joe Mixon, because everyone knows it's coming, gets 1-2 yards most of the time, which puts you in a second and long, and more than likely puts you in a third and long. If you can gain 5 yards on a crossing route to Tyler Boyd on first down, you're in 2nd and 5, and then you want to run the ball or then you want to pass, that changes the game completely. Because if you can get the ball out quick, then you're not depending on your offensive line as much. And if you can just do that consistently, one, it'll tire down the defense, which is something you need to do. You need to sustain long drives. But also it makes your offensive line's life easier, and it opens up plays down the field because they might have to get more creative with trying to rush the passer. If you're not forcing the defense to be creative in getting to Joe Burrow, then they've already won. Because if they can just rush 4 or whatever it is to get to Joe Burrow, and they can, double cover Jamar Chase or, bracket Higgins or whatever it is, then there's not going to be a mismatch to really focus in on. So,
yeah. So I think too, especially against, if you're coming with Von Miller and Aaron Donald against the blitz, is that Joe Burrow is PFF's single best quarterback against the blitz. Stafford is 3rd against the blitz. Stafford has a better, touchdown interception ratio, but Burrow's is 11-5 touchdown to interception ratio. But he has longer yards per attempt on the blitz. So Joe Burrow he does do okay against the blitz, but under pressure, he's a little bit less good. But I mean, Joe Burrow has all of the stats in his favor. In this article by PFF's Ian Haritz, I think I'm saying that right, he talked about how Joe Burrow is top 10 in every signal caller, top 10 signal caller in every metric. Top 2. He's in every stat. In clean pockets, standard, first and second down, no play action, at or beyond the sticks, he's 1 or 2, whereas Stafford is top 10. But Joe Burrow has shown himself, and I just think that he just needs to be a little bit more vigilant, especially with Donald and Von Miller being the ones who are going to be on that rush. And
hopefully, if Zach Taylor just doesn't make Joe Burrow do it by himself, which is what it felt like against the Chiefs, just help him a little bit. And it'll make Joe Burrow's life easier. He's an incredible player. You just need to make his life a little bit easier for it to work out.
I completely agree.
So, honestly, I don't have faith in Zach Taylor to do that.
Yeah, especially in a Super Bowl. That's a little bit scary.
In any game.
But yeah, but why don't you start telling us a little bit about what you think the Rams need to do to win this game?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think they just all the things we talked about that the Bengals need to do, the Rams need to do the opposite first and foremost. Like
Mhm.
they want to hit Joe Burrow early and often. They want to
Yes.
put them in third and long situations, and they want to stifle their drives. They want to take away the run game early, I think, by getting up early on them.
Yep.
But I think on the offensive side of the ball, it's really just as simple as don't shoot yourself in the foot. Like Matthew Stafford has.
Looking at you, Matt Stafford.
Yeah, exactly. He's been weirdly inconsistent this year when it
Yep.
comes to just making seemingly boneheaded plays.
On like the easy stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just think it's as simple as sometimes just taking the easy completion, whether it's to Cooper Kupp and for 10 yards or whatever, or
Or
a
even
dump
just throwing
off.
it away.
Yeah, throw it away, whatever. Like I just don't give the Bengals anything easy. If you
Yeah.
make the Bengals' life hard on them, then I think you're probably going to win the game. I mean, the Bengals were able to get that strip sack from Patrick Mahomes that helped them win the game, obviously. But they were able to force Mahomes into just being not himself, and they forced him to make mistakes and miss easy throws and whatnot. And I think that's something it's obvious, but that's something the Rams really need to avoid doing. If they can just play safely and win the turnover battle, I think it's almost guaranteed that they win. Honestly, Sean McVay, just don't be a coward, man.
Yeah.
I don't like Sean McVay.
We talked about that. If you want to hear a little bit more about Sean McVay, we talked about that a little bit. 2 weeks ago? Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Don't assume that you've won the game, and don't take your foot off the pedal. Like we've seen what happens when teams take their foot off the pedal in big games like this. The opposing team is not going to do that if they are down. They are there to score points. Do not assume that your lead is safe, because it's probably not, because the other team is good. That is why you are playing them in February.
In the Super Bowl.
Just Jesus Christ, Sean McVay. Like, go for a fourth down every now and then if you're in favorable field position, or if the analytics tell you to. Like, your offense is good. You'd complete them. You'd convert. It's frustrating.
Yeah. And I think some other things is that I think Jalen Ramsey needs to really, really be locked down this weekend. I think that letting up any yards is going to be it can turn so fast with Burrow and Chase and T. Higgins. You give them a few, they take a million, Yeah. So I think he really needs to be locked down. And I think one of my favorite things I saw was, again, from Eric Eager. And he said about the Rams defense, they disguise coverages from pre to post snap, about how they disguise coverages, and including the postseason, they've disguised their coverage on 44.1% of snaps, which is 7% higher than the next highest team, which is really interesting to me. So it's thinking it's allowing someone like Joe Burrow to think he knows what they're doing, but the coverage is disguised and they switch it up at the last second. And I think that's actually a really good game plan, especially against a guy like Joe Burrow, who's young and fairly inexperienced. And this is a huge game. And I think, Joe Burrow is not one of those cool guys who I think is going to be fine under the pressure. But in a game like this, disguising those coverages, I think could be really, really helpful for the Rams. I don't know that they need to do it on 44% of the snaps, but I think just in those key situations that disguising those coverages might be one of their best defensive game plans.
Yeah, I mean, on third and long, that's the perfect way to get an extra half second with your pass rush. And sometimes that's all you need with a bad offensive line. So,
yeah. Exactly. I mean, there was just a couple other things. I think that article by Ian Harwitz explains a little bit. I recommend everybody to go read that. But that Burrow kind of has the edge over Stafford in a lot of these situations, in extending the play, in better against two high looks, better against when the defense only features one deep safety. All of these things that Joe Burrow beats out Matt Stafford. So I think that the Rams on offense are going to have to play a little bit smarter. And that is weird saying with a team that has Sean McVay at the helm. But I think they're really just going to have to play smarter and not harder, especially with someone like Stafford, who can have a tendency to put himself in risky situations.
And so speaking about that is actually shout out to Blake Hampton, back of the Undroppables. He's our analytics guru. He does stuff with numbers that I don't understand.
Me either.
He's kind of
How
a
did he
smart
have a computer run all those things?
I don't know. He just kind of sends graphs, and I
know.
like clap at them. I don't know. But he gave us a really interesting tidbit before the show, talking about kind of, along the same lines, like what do the Rams need to do to win? Well, to start out, I'll define something called EPA, which is expected points added. And basically, what that means is that it's a way to measure both offensive and defensive parts of teams and also players. But it's basically saying how do they perform comparatively as to expected over NFL history or the average. Basically, so like say that an offensive drive for the Rams started at the 50-yard line. The expected points that the Rams should get from that is 2.5. So basically, if they score a field goal, they're adding plus 0.5 to their expected points added. And if they score a touchdown, it's 4.5. If they get nothing, then it's minus 0.5. So the Rams have lost 5 games this year. And in 4 of their 5 losses, it's been because the Rams have had -5 offensive expected points added. Basically meaning that in 4 of those 5 games, it was the offense's fault that they lost because they were actively doing worse than they should have been in certain situations, according to the analytics. Which basically kind of goes along with everything that we've been saying, which is that they need to just do as expected. They need to do the things that are expected of them and just not hand the Rams or hand the Bengals opportunities. And then something else that Blake gave us was, I guess he simulated the Rams offense in this game 10,000 times. Again, no clue how that works. But it looked like approximately 75% of the time, or in 7,500 of those simulations, the Rams were better than -5 EPA. So take that for what you will. But it
Numbers, that's what I take it for.
Yes, it's a lot of analytical and fancy number ways of saying that the Rams should be able to do what they're expected to do. But if they start doing stupid turnovers, if they start giving the Bengals opportunities that they didn't need to, that is the Bengals' key to winning, is by stifling that Rams offense and making them fold. And with Sean McVay not being an aggressive head coach, he's less likely to go for it on a 4th and 2, maybe on the 40-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, that's going to change the EPA a lot because it stops the drive as opposed to the possibility of continuing it and getting points. So, something to keep in mind for math heads out there.
I do like that. All right. So why don't we talk a little bit about what we think is going to happen before we go into our MVP picks. So I can start here, but for me, this one's tough. Like I said, I don't want to pick a favorite. I don't want to at all, but I am going to ride with the Bengals just because I think I want to go to the Rams simply because I love Cooper Kupp so much. And I could talk about this every episode about how much I love Cooper Kupp. And I want him to win a Super Bowl ring, but I just think I love the Bengals right now. I think Joe Burrow and Evan McPherson and Jamar Chase, I think that they are all so confident and cool. And I think that they're going to have really level heads going into this, even though they seem like the cool guys, I think this winning a Super Bowl in your home stadium as the away team, I don't know. I don't trust Sean McVay. I really don't. I think that's kind of a lot of what this comes down to. I think I trust Zach Taylor a little bit more than I trust McVay. And I don't know. You can make that face all you want.
I don't trust Sean McVay either, but I wouldn't trust either of them to watch my dog.
I don't trust either of them, but I think if I had to pick, I think it's going to be that Zach Taylor may make those hard decisions where Sean McVay won't in those 4th down situations and stuff like that. So I mean, we talked a lot about what they need to do to win and what we're expecting to see. But I think the Bengals are my pick here. I think I'm not 100% positive, but I have my Bengals sweatshirt on, and I think I am going with the Bengals for this weekend.
Yeah, so I'll start by saying that it feels like, I think, an underrated thing with the Super Bowl and something that oftentimes really can't be explained in numbers or whatever is just kind of like the vibes.
The feeling. Yeah.
Super dumb. But like, I always think back to 2017. with the Eagles. There was little doubt in my mind once a ball miraculously bounced off Keanu Neal's knee and then landed in the arms of Torrey Smith. And we somehow beat the Falcons, and we held Julio Jones on a 4th down with Jalen Mills at cornerback. Like, it just felt like it was our year. It felt like that all year. Carson Wentz went down, and then it still felt like it after Nick Foles became a god. I think that's what this Bengals team has this year. I mean, it just feels like the year of Joe Burrow. It just feels like, they're not the most talented team out there. They're not. I don't even know. Were they the least talented team that played last week? Maybe the week before. I don't know. Like, they're not an insanely talented team. They just have a couple. They have some really good players, some good players.
They just feel special.
It feels special.
Like it feels special.
Yeah. And
I
just
said
with
that.
all this stuff.
Russell Wilson said that. The first week when I picked the Bengals and you didn't, I think that's what it was.
I picked the Bengals the first
You picked the Bengals. Okay, so it was the second week.
Don't take my 5 wins away from me.
Sorry. It was the next week that you
didn't
pick the
week that I
Bengals.
won.
It was that one that I said Russell Wilson had said on Manningcast that it feels like there's something really special going down in Cincinnati and I want to be a part of it. And then I said the same thing. I said, I want to be a part of that too. I'm going to cheer for the Bengals the rest of the way. And that's what it feels like. You're right. It's just a vibe from them. It feels so special right now.
And not to mention, like, I feel like this happens more. Like, it's always cool to see that young 2nd-year stud just kind of randomly make the Super Bowl. And it's happened a decent bit in the past few years. Like, I was looking in, like, Russell Wilson was there, and I think his 2nd year, he was also there in his 3rd year. You had the Philadelphia Eagles. That would have been Carson Wentz's 2nd year. You had the Rams with a young Jared Goff the year after. You had a young Patrick Mahomes making it the following year. It's just, for some reason that it happens a lot, and I think it's really cool, and I like when that happens. All that to being said, I'm going to pick the Rams because I have not picked a game right.
You do this every week.
Well, I haven't picked a game right since the wild card round, and I don't want the Rams to win, so I'm picking them to win. It's as simple as that. I'm jinxing them, I guess. They're the better team. There's a reason they're favorited. So fine, I'm going to pick them, and I'm going to be really happy if I'm wrong. That's what it comes down to. So
you're doing it to hope in a weird way. You're hoping you lose.
Yep.
Because you've been losing. So,
but if I win, then I can just say that I picked.
You could say you won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's fine.
I mean, you don't win the Super Bowl.
And I won the Super Bowl in 2017. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll be happy for Matt Stafford.
Speaking of, conversation earlier, I saw it. I wasn't active in the Discord about if you were the quarterback of the Bengals. You were the Bengals, right?
Yeah, I was on the Bengals.
If you were the quarterback of the Bengals and I was the quarterback of the Rams, that we should talk about who would win, and our Discord picked me.
But I picked you. I was the first one to answer. Of course. The Bengals offensive line is terrible, and we're both dying in the first hit we take.
You would die.
I'm not getting the ball to Jamar Chase. I'm dying. They would be without a quarterback in the first play.
Entire game.
Because Von Miller or Aaron Donald will literally.
Oh my God. Could you imagine like Aaron Donald running up on you and crushing you?
I would be dead. I would black out before I took a hit.
Yeah.
Of course you were going to win. Of course. If I was on the Rams, I'd win. Because you would die in the first hit.
Oh God.
It was a fun conversation for all of 2 seconds.
It really was. I'm glad we talked about that.
Great.
For the last part of our general game stuff, why don't we talk about let's start with the Rams. If the Rams win, who is going to be the Rams? Well, okay, let me jump back for 1 second. Some bets, some odds, that's the word I'm looking for. Some odds of MVP. Matt Stafford is plus 125. Joe Burrow is plus 230. Cooper Kupp is plus 550. Aaron Donald is plus 1500. Jamar Chase is plus 2500. OBJ is plus 2,700. There's more and more and more, but those are the big, Joe Mixon at plus 4,000. It goes on and on. But I want to know if the Rams win, who you're picking as the MVP.
So, I mean, like you pick Matt Stafford. It's 99% of the time it's going to be a quarterback.
Could it be Cooper Kupp though?
No,
it could be.
I know. I don't think it will be.
I just think it's that they traded for Stafford and now they're winning the Super Bowl. I think it's not even that.
It's like so rarely do you see wide receivers win it. because
Yeah,
how do wide receivers have incredible games without the quarterback doing it? And it's like Julian Edelman probably should have won that 1 year against the Falcons, I want to say, or maybe it was James White. James White should have won that year against the Falcons. Tom Brady won it. I know Deion Branch won that one of the early ones with Tom Brady, but Jacoby Jones should have won the Super Bowl MVP for the Ravens. He had a deep bomb touchdown and I believe also a kickoff return touchdown or a punt, one of the two. But yeah, it's gonna be a QB. If it's the Bengals, I'm almost positive it's Joe Burrow. I don't know how it's humanly possible that it's not Joe Burrow. If
I'm
it's
picking
the Bengals.
someone else just for the fun of it.
What was that?
I'm picking someone else for the Bengals just for the fun of it.
That's fine. Yeah.
What about Aaron Donald though? Because I think that's a big one that they talked a lot in leading up to the Super Bowl about how the Rams' love for Aaron Donald is one of the reasons they're here, right? Like everybody in that locker room and everybody on that team wants to win the Super Bowl simply for for themselves, but for right. Aaron Donald. Like, you know what I mean? Like that team's talked so much about it. So I think he could be a pick for the Rams.
Well, so that's what I was getting at was
Sorry.
No, I mean it's fine. You interrupted me. I interrupt you all the time. It's totally okay. I'm not even making fun of you all the time. But I don't see a way that it's not Joe Burrow if the Bengals win. Someone will have to do something absolutely incredible. But with the Rams, I think it reminds me, and this was just mentioned in the comments twice before I had a chance to say it, but leading up to Super Bowl 50, where it was the Denver Broncos facing the Carolina Panthers, a friend of mine, same friend from earlier, actually, Hayden, he very drunkenly told me, well, he wasn't drunk all the time, but multiple times drunkenly, multiple times very soberly, the whole week leading up to the Super Bowl, that if the Broncos are going to win, Von Miller has to win MVP. That's the only way they win. Lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. Von Miller had a heck of a game. The stat that I said earlier, Von Miller is having the best postseason pass rush win rate of any postseason of the last 5 years. And the key for the Rams winning, I think, is being able to get to Joe Burrow and force him to make mistakes. I won't be shocked at all if it is Von Miller or Aaron Donald to win the Super Bowl MVP. I would say it's more likely to be Von Miller. I think it's more likely that Aaron Donald has a really good game and impacts the game, but I think that won't be enough to win the MVP. I think it'll take really, really fun-looking stats, and I think it's more likely that Von Miller gets them.
Yep.
So I think they're both more likely than Cooper Kupp. I would actually, if I was going to bet on this, I would probably bet on one of Von Miller or Aaron Donald, because I just think their odds are better comparatively to the other guys that we're talking about, because again,
I mean, they're both good. Aaron Donald's is plus 1,500 and Von Miller is plus 3,900.
Yeah, like 99. Yeah, it's probably going to be a quarterback. It probably is, but
except I'm going to pick someone else. Like I said, I for the Bengals.
You can be wrong.
I think for me it's Aaron Donald and Von Miller, so I brought that up. But for me, for the Bengals, it's going to be Joe Burrow. But just for the fun of it, just because if I'm right, I'll be really right. I'm going to pick Evan McPherson because it's just so fun. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. His odds are plus 10,000.
I mean, I would bet on that because that's fun.
Right, just because it's like you put $1 on it. It's so fun. That's why I would put my money there. Just for fun.
Been the MVP before.
Ever? Once?
Yeah, he might have also played some quarterback. Yeah, it's a really, really weird thing that I know.
What?
Yeah.
I need to know.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the Super Bowl MVPs first because I want to see if the kickers ever won it. Because I feel like it's much more likely, but even then, I feel like it would still if you won a game by only kicking field goals, that means your defense did some stuff. That means the defender is probably going to win. Like I just feel like it would be everyone against the idea of a kick. A kick returner won it for Green Bay back in the day, which I did know that, but never a kicker. And I will find that kicker that won an MVP.
But I think it would be just so fun. Kyle said it's going to be awesome. Higgins.
It'd be awesome, but he would have to like I feel like maybe once upon a time I won a Super Bowl MVP as a kicker in Madden because I don't know. I just felt like making a kicker. And it was dumb, but I decided to it was a Washington
That's so amazing.
but yeah, but like he would have to like break the record like 4 times in one game.
He would have to break the record from himself from like the last drive.
Yeah, exactly. Like that feels like the only possible way to do that. Okay. So a place kicker won in 1982. Mark Mosley for the Washington Redskins. I guess he didn't play quarterback, so I was wrong. But yeah, he was the NFL MVP back in 19. That's more recent than I thought it was. Actually, I was thinking like 60s, but good for him, I guess.
Good for Mark Mosley.
I mean,
proud of you.
Whatever.
It's gonna
be he was drafted by the Eagles. That's why I knew him.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. So anyway,
those are our Super Bowl picks, our Super Bowl MVP picks. But like while we're talking bets and odds, why don't we jump into probably my favorite segment of this entire thing? We're going to talk about the odds and some of the fun things around the odds, about all of these fun bets about the Super Bowl. And we'll start off with the first one, the one that's going to kick us all off: the length of the national anthem. And the over. Mickey Guyton is singing it. I had never heard that name before, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. And over 95 seconds is the line. So over 95 seconds is at -1/3. Oh, why did I write that twice? Hold on. I wrote over twice. Let's look at it. Let me scroll on here. I know the line is at
95 seconds.
95 seconds.
All right. Well, while you look for that, I'm going to go on a mini rant about the national anthem, because I'm a former music major, majored in music in college, played trumpet all through whenever, music nerd, all that. I hate the fact that the national anthem is that long. It is so stupid. It was not written to be a death march. It was written to be a drinking song. It should not be slow. Every time I've ever played it in a marching band, we played it quickly. Not quickly, but like a normal pace of a song, so it's not depressing and sad and boring, because it doesn't need to be that long, and it's super stupid. But every singer that's ever existed, 90% of singers that have ever existed and sang the national anthem are like, this is my time to shine and show off on every freaking note and just add tremolos and crap everywhere. It pisses me off. I hate it, and it's going to be the over like it always is.
So I can't find what I was talking about. But anyway, only 2 of the last 15 national anthem singers have been under less than 95 seconds. So all of the money, all of the stats are pointing to yes, that it's going to be over. But another fun one is, will Mickey Guyton forget to omit a word from the national anthem? Or forget or omit. Sorry, not forget to omit. Forget or omit. Yes is +625. No is -1300.
I mean, it's probably going to be no.
Probably going to be no, but like,
I mean,
she might let one note drag on and then forget to say the next note.
No, I feel like because it's so long, it's even harder to miss words. If you're speeding through it, it's easier to miss words. But I don't know. By the way, I sang the national anthem myself in about 70 seconds the other day, because I had to test it, because someone on Twitter, I don't remember who it was, but it pissed me off, was talking about how they did it a bunch of times. They could only get it under the quickest that made sense was 92 seconds. That's call BS on that. That's crap. Way false. That is crap.
Can you give us a preview?
No, I will not. I will not. No one wants that. I've already talked about the national anthem too much for anyone's liking.
Yeah. Okay. So over the national anthem, let's go into the coin toss. So the result is that, both heads and tails odds are at -105. So this is the result of it. Tails has currently a three-game lead on heads in Super Bowls. So 29 out of 55 have been tails. BetMGM says 60% of their bets are on tails to hit, and all of those bets make up 52% of the money being wagered on the coin toss result. And my favorite was that the coin toss has landed on heads in 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls. Before that, the tails was the outcome for 4 straight. So tails in the Super Bowl between Seattle and Denver broke a 5-game streak for heads, and that streak came after tails was the outcome in 9 of 11. So they kind of go on these little runs of
this is so stupid.
Tails.
This is so dumb.
Why people put
this is the dumbest podcast I've ever been a part of.
I love it. I think it's the best show.
So apparently, realistically, statistically, a literal science fact, as far as I know, is that it is more likely that the coin lands on whatever is facing upward when you flick it. So take that what you will. If you
gotta
believe
like
that they will,
live bet it, like be like really, really, really.
yeah. So take that as you will. That is the only way I will make a bet on the coin toss and actually think that I'm doing anything intelligent. I will bet on it. Don't worry, but I won't think I'm intelligent while doing so unless I have that piece of info beforehand. So
yeah, and then winner, Bengals or Rams to win the coin toss, whatever. No one cares about that. But this one, coin toss winner wins the game. The odds are at 104 for both yes and no. But since the start of the 2014 season, every team that has won the coin toss in the Super Bowl has ended up losing the game.
That's something I didn't know.
Since the Rams are the visiting team in the Super Bowl this year, they get to make the call. Before 2014, it was exactly 50-50 chance. But since 2014, every single one of them has lost.
Didn't know that.
Right? So it's a stupid, you're saying it's a stupid podcast. Look at that.
No, it's still a stupid podcast.
I know.
Betting on any of this is stupid. It's a lot of fun, but it's stupid.
So much fun.
I bet I lost like $60 last year.
Oh yeah.
Crap like this. Like it's very dumb.
Yeah.
But it's also very fun.
So now that we've got the coin toss,
completely skipped Gatorade color.
No, we're gonna go at the end. Catch my drift here. We're gonna go to halftime show. I sent you the link in comments.
Oh, I understand.
We're gonna go to halftime show now that we've sung the national anthem and had the coin toss. The game's happening.
Order of the game.
And now we're going to the halftime show. So let's look at some of the bets for the halftime show. So the reason I actually looked this up, I really had just kind of the basics, and then our Dukes, on the Undroppables, had said that you can pick like what color Snoop Dogg's shoes are going to be. And like that inspired me. So now we're going to talk about the halftime show. So are there any of these that stand out to you? So like you can predict who's going to perform first.
How is any part of Eminem's, so will any part of Eminem's performance be censored? Yes is only minus 180?
I know, like that has to be
minus
like
10,000. Does he have any song that doesn't need to be censored?
No.
I feel like that's the kind of thing I'll make way too big of a bet on, and then I'll regret it because somehow it won't happen. But what?
Like that's really low. No, I agree with you.
Of course not. Will a football be used as a prop?
I'm gonna go yes.
I love first song performed. It's much harder this year because of the fact that there's
so
5 artists. But I used to love doing that. When they're like Maroon 5, I did it. That was a
good Super Bowl halftime show.
Yeah, it was the best part of the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
the Super Bowl was crap. That was the Rams Patriots here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is always.
I do love the first one on the list, though. The first one on the list is California Love. And I think that's a great one because it's like not any. I mean, they kind of. That's tough because that might be like the last song because then they like all be out and then they could all sing it. I think that might be the last one. So I think they might play that song. Can I place a bet on that?
I mean, it was in the commercial, so I wouldn't be shocked.
That's true.
I don't know. That's the problem is there's so many of them that it's hard to. We don't know like how many songs are each going to get and crap like that. Artists to perform first is interesting. I would just take. I really think it's a 1 in 5 chance. Eminem is plus 700. I would just do that. I would just take that.
See, you know what? I actually think I'm gonna go with Eminem's not gonna be first, and that he'll like come out singing like Without Me.
Well, that's why he has the worst odds, but I'm taking it because
it's fun.
Why not?
So yeah, so then I'll go with Eminem. I'm gonna go with Eminem's not gonna be first, and that Eminem is gonna come out with Without Me first. How many songs? How many songs? Over 8.5 or under 10.5?
Over. Wait, what?
I love this one too.
Over
I know that's weird that those don't match. Those don't match, but
it must be.
Anyway.
No, I don't even know. Will Snoop Dogg smoke on stage? Is it
that's
legal
my
in California?
It's legal, so
I feel like he won't. I feel like he won't. I don't think the NFL will let him.
It's Snoop Dogg. He might have a joint in his pocket and then just.
But I don't.
What
are
they gonna do? Turn off the halftime show?
I don't think it'll happen. It's the NFL.
I'm saying yes.
All right, I say no.
Yes.
Will there be a wardrobe malfunction? No, probably not. I don't know.
But the odds on yes are fairly good. Plus 950.
I mean,
this is why we lose money when we're betting on the Super Bowl.
This is why you lose money. I'm making money this year. I'm not betting on stupid crap.
For the first year
I'm
ever.
betting on stupid crap like this. I'm excited for this halftime show. I don't think I've been this excited since Katy Perry. And that did not let me down.
Wait, that's so funny you say that. Oh my god, my AirPod's gonna fall. Hold on, mute me.
Okay. Left Shark was my favorite part of any Super Bowl halftime show ever. He was a beautiful, beautiful man. I don't know who was in that shark costume, but he outperformed the rest of the world and any expectation that anyone should have for a man in a shark costume by just not doing any of the assigned choreography. I love it.
I think I love Beyonce's, but it's so funny you say that about Katy Perry because my boyfriend actually said that that's his favorite halftime performance ever. That like Katy Perry was like one of the best halftime performers.
I mean, she also just has so many bops.
She does.
It's just like very few artists. I feel like pop artists can really like truly go like, because all of her bops were also like there weren't any throwbacks really. It was just kind of like every single one of those songs were popular within like a 5-year range prior to that.
Yeah, and she's like just a pop artist. Like Beyonce is like a pop R&B artist, so like she had a mix of like those a little bit poppy, a little bit R&B, a little bit rap. So Katy Perry was like a just total
bop to the top. You know, some High School Musical in there.
Like
can we move on from the halftime show, please?
Yes, we can move on to the halftime show. And now we have our winner. Woo! Someone wins the Super Bowl and the coach gets the Gatorade poured on them. This is like a whole story. Like, look at this. Look at me. The coach gets the Gatorade color poured on him. And let's go over the odds. Blue is plus, these are from FanDuel Sportsbook, by the way. Blue is plus 310. Orange is plus 205. Clear/water is plus 540. Yellow, green, lime is plus 360. Red/pink is plus 960. And purple is plus 1,180.
I think purple's like a decent bet. I mean, I think
but
it's
like I think purple and blue could like.
What was red? What was red again?
Red pink
what was
is
it
plus
paired
960.
with? Red pink. Okay.
Red
yeah,
pink.
like it hasn't been. I'm looking at a list of the last like bunch of years. It hasn't been red or pink on this list. Like since Super Bowl 21, I don't see a single time that it was either of those. So I don't know why that has better odds than purple. Yeah, I don't really understand. I mean, I think the easiest ones are orange and blue because that's the team of the color, like the colors of the team. I think clear also is a decent bet, but
it's so lame to pour clear. Like that's just lame. Like
so
you have
clear,
to have like a secondary Gatorade container hanging around if you just.
So speaking of lame, the last team to do clear was Super Bowl 42, the Giants.
Good.
So
that's
the
why
last
we're
team to do purple was Super Bowl 46, the Giants. So yeah, every time since then, it's either been none, blue, orange, and then one yellow. So
now, like, do you think that like these teams have like a specific color?
Yellow. Interesting.
Do you think they have like a specific color that they like drink all year, or is that like just like some like guy, like some like equipment manager guy that just brings out like a new one? Like
I would assume they drink the same one all year. I don't know how they decide it. I would pick red. Red is nowhere on here. I think red is the best Gatorade. I don't think it's even close.
Blue is the best Gatorade.
Blue's fine.
Red is fine.
Blue is the best.
I like
Gatorade.
Yellow actually. That's like I do like yellow Gatorade.
I just found out that that's what the Eagles used, or I just remembered that.
So now you kind of have to love yellow Gatorade.
But no, yeah, I don't know. I'd probably bet on purple.
Just for
why
fun.
not? I don't know. It feels like an LA color.
Let's see.
More realistically, I'm just not going to bet on it.
I don't know. I don't ever make up my decision until right before the game starts. I think I'm going to go yellow. But my favorite part of this is that under it says market will be void if no distinct Gatorade shower is shown on the broadcast. And that's because of last year. Last year, I bet blue. And then they didn't show the Gatorade dump on the broadcast. I had to go onto Twitter. It was blue. I had to like go onto Twitter to find videos from inside the stadium to find out what color. It was blue. But I love that they've added that little byline there to say that if it's not on national television, that we're not giving you your money.
I mean, that's smart. At least it's void, not like you lose your money. So
it is smart.
No, I think realistic. I'd probably bet yellow. I think that's a smart bet because I think it's equally likely that the Rams could do blue or yellow. And like if you're going on team colors.
Yeah.
And
but I feel like it's like never really their team colors because it's so predictable. I feel like they never go with their team colors.
I mean, yeah, I guess looking at it. I mean, Broncos did orange. Patriots normally do blue. When was the last time the Rams won the Super Bowl? What did they do? Wait, can I even see? Where is that? Why is it not here? When did they win?
Entertainment.
When did they win? What Super Bowl was that? Oh, it skips a bunch. Oh, that's probably why. I can't. Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of years where it doesn't have it. I was going to try and make a historical guess based on 1999.
Now that we've talked about all the fun bets, I want to know your bet for first touchdown score. I know it's not on our show sheet, but just pick.
Do you know what the odds are? Do you have them in front of you?
Yeah, I do. Give me
You read them out?
1 second. Yeah. Let me find it. Games. I'm sorry, I was on Super Bowl and not. All right. First touchdown scorer: Cooper Kupp plus 490, Cam Akers plus 650, Joe Mixon plus 700, Jamar Chase plus 800, OBJ plus 900, T Higgins plus 1200.
I would do OBJ.
Really?
He's scored a lot of touchdowns this postseason. He's been very good this postseason. And again, like for something as random as touchdown score, like Cooper Kupp.
There's so much
It
parity
makes the
in
most
it.
sense, but like I'm getting like double the odds, and I don't think that it's twice as likely that Cooper Kupp scores the first touchdown than OBJ. So yeah, I'd probably bet on OBJ.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Joe Mixon.
That's fair.
My bet.
I think if I picked one on the Bengals, it would probably be T Higgins for the same reason as OBJ.
Yeah,
like
as Chase, yeah, and especially with Chase pair up on
yeah, exactly.
on Ramsey. All right, and then I guess my last question is there one brand or company of commercials that you're most looking forward to?
I mean, no, not particularly. I just like commercial. Like I like some of them.
Like I
like
always love
ones.
the Budweiser commercials. Like
Yeah,
those are
fine.
some of my favorites. Like, those are the classics. I like those ones.
I like the ones that have NFL players doing stupid stuff normally.
Yeah, that's true.
I like yeah, I don't know.
That one that they ran through the banquet. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I like that one. That was like a celebration
Right?
of like 50 years or something.
I think that's what it was. I can't remember exactly what the commercial was, but I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have a ton of expectations like going into a game.
Game of commercials.
No, I know what my favorite commercial is of all time, and it's like so it's I don't know what year it was from. I want to say it was like Sprint or some cell phone company, but it was two guys sitting in a locker room and they were trying to decide, or they were talking about their new phones, and they were like, "Oh, does yours have this feature? Does yours have this feature?" And these are like flip phones. It's like, "Oh yeah, mine is this. Does yours have this? Does yours have this?" And the one guy goes like, "Does yours have like a defense mode or something like security?" And he's like, "No, mine doesn't." Like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Try and take my phone." And so the guy starts reaching for the phone. He just chucks the phone at his face.
Oh.
And then that's
I've never seen that one.
Yeah, it's not one of those that like people always talk about. It's just like it cracked me up. I loved it. I think of it every year. It's my favorite commercial because it's really dumb. It's very simple. And yeah.
You're funny. All right. Well, that wraps up our Super Bowl show. Before we, I just tell us where we can find you first, and then I'll wrap it all up at the end.
You can find me on Twitter at mpduncan75. You can find me producing the Undrafted podcast, hosted by @DinoGameTheory, Jax Falcone on Twitter. And you can find me with the Undroppables doing stuff at the Undroppables on Twitter and theundroppables.com. And you can find me here Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern and on your devices on whatever streaming platform you use to listen to podcasts the next morning.
In your ear holes. You can find me on Twitter at Ashley_Marie with 2 A's in Ashley. You can find me and all my content with the Undroppables and on the Undroppables social media, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, here with you as well. We are co-hosts. And you can find me on the Undroppables Patreon, which is a really good place to find us, both of us, me, you, and all of the Undroppables team. You pay a couple dollars a month. It's a very low price, actually, and you get access to all of the premium channels in the Undroppables Discord, where you get to talk everything from Super Bowl bets and DFS and game theory, and especially with draft season and rookies coming up. You get to talk all of us. So you can go to patreon.com/theundroppables to sign up and become a patron of the Undroppables, and we would really appreciate it. The playbook would really
absolutely it. You can talk to us all the time,
all day,
whenever you want.
Yeah, Duncan will give you like his private phone number, and you can just like call him in the middle of the night. And,
I don't think I'm important enough to have a private phone number. I think I just have a
like all phone numbers are private until you share them.
I mean, are they really nowadays? Are they?
This is not a.
I feel like famous people have like private phone numbers. I have a phone.
No, I just think they don't share those phone numbers.
Well, yeah, because they're private.
That's what I said.
A random person on Twitter was like, "Hey, what's your phone number?" I'd probably give it to them because it doesn't matter.
You're right. I wouldn't.
I'm not important.
If my phone number was on my Twitter, I would not know peace for the rest of my life.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be very, blunt, you're a woman, So
it's what I just
it
said.
makes
I'm a
total
girl and I talk sports,
Yeah,
so my phone would
exactly.
never stop.
Yes. That
But
inherently
yes,
makes you more important than
it
me and
does.
more likely to
I
have a
know.
private phone number.
Yeah. I just don't share my phone number.
I
Never
have your
ask
phone
for it.
number. I
You
can give out
do.
your phone
Do
number.
not give out my phone
If you want Ashley's phone number,
Anyway.
join the Patreon and I will give you Ashley's
But
phone
you
number.
have to get the highest one. You know,
No,
you
you
can't
don't.
sell my phone number for the cheap one.
I don't care which one it is.
No, you have to get the more expensive one. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. This was a really fun show. I think this is one of my favorite shows we've done. It was just a blast. And thank you guys for an amazing season. I know we took a couple weeks off in the middle of it, but we will be here just because the season's ending after this weekend. We will still be here. It may become a little bit more infrequent. But we have big plans for the off season, Duncan and I, and the entire Undroppables team, and this podcast specifically because I only know our plans. We have big plans, so stick around. If you like this podcast, make sure to give it a good rating, a good review on iTunes, Spotify. I don't even know if you can rate things on Spotify, but rate them there. Rate us wherever you listen to us. 10 out of 10. But thank you guys for listening. I really enjoyed this episode, and this season has been an absolute blast, and I'm looking forward to this weekend.
Enjoy your Super Bowl parties. Be safe.
Eat lots of wings.
Yeah, and go Birds.
Every time.